I'm gonna pose a question, and it's not to counter what you believe, but just to ask you to have an open mind, right? A simple what if. What if God isn't a person? What if God is more like a signal and it's always broadcasting and we're just receivers? What if the whole point is just to stay open, to pick it up? The word itself might just be shorthand for good. The ancient Hebrew name for God wasn't even really a name, it was closer to a concept, existence itself. Something real that people realized and then slowly turned into a figure, a religion, an institution, and somewhere in that process, the original thing got buried underneath everything that was built on top of it. And what if it never left? Every person across every culture who ever got quiet enough just to touch something deeper ended up in the same place. Not because they compared notes, because maybe that state exists outside of time. And when you reach it, you might not be connecting to the people around you right now. You might be dropping into something that runs through every moment at once, a place where everyone who has ever been there meets, regardless of when they lived. And in that state, you probably don't know everything, but maybe you know the only things that matter, that love and trust are what hold everything together, that good isn't something we build, it might be the original condition, the default before something disrupted it. And disruption probably wasn't one moment, just a slow drift. The fruit was never really about fruit. It might have been pointing at the moment self-awareness changed everything. The second you can observe yourself, you can compare yourself, compete, deceive. Harmony stops being automatic. It has to be chosen and maintained. Trust becomes load bearing, and every time it breaks, it doesn't just hurt the people involved, it makes everyone a little more guarded, a little more closed. Love gets harder to give and harder to receive, and more people disconnect from whatever was holding things together. And what if that's all evil really is? Not some supernatural force, just noise, interference that makes it harder for the rest of us to hear what we need to hear. The whore of Babylon and the mother of exiles might not even be two different things. They could be two views of the exact same thing, depending on where you're standing. To the person it welcomes, it looks like refuge. To the person it's crushing, it looks like a predator. The same system, but opposite experiences. And maybe that's what Revelation was really actually pointing at. Not the literal end of the world, but a pattern. What happens when any system built on taking finally runs out of things to take? It might not even need to be destroyed, it might just collapse under its own weight every time. What if all knowing doesn't mean knowing every fact? What if it just means understanding how things work deeply enough that where they are heading becomes obvious? That might be what wisdom has always looked like. It looks like prophecy from the outside, but from the inside it might just be clarity. And all powerful might not mean one being controlling everything. It might mean what becomes possible when enough people align with the same truth at the same time. When enough receivers open, maybe the potential really is limitless. Which is exactly why the most lost matter the most. We are only as strong as our weakest link. The most disconnected people don't just suffer alone. Their pain ripples and makes it harder for everyone around them to stay open. And the hardest part is that the people who most need to feel safe are usually the ones who got burnt the worst by the people who claim to offer it. Reaching them takes the only kind of love that might actually work at that level, love that doesn't need anything back. People using God to sort the worthy from the unworthy might have it completely backwards. The ones performing devotion loudly while causing harm are probably exactly what every tradition was warning about. The truly good might not need the performance at all. They already figured out that whatever name you put on it, all comes back to the same thing. God is love, and love without trust might slowly become fear, and fear might be where everything falls apart. Maybe the signal has always been there. Maybe the only question is whether we are willing to get quiet enough to receive it.